The Killer Tumbleweeds. Never heard of it? You're going to in a minute. And you're going to meet the star of this movie, the director of this movie, the writer of this movie, along with his brother. Ben McCain is quite a person, and I had the opportunity to interview him the other day. Stay tuned. We are live today with a special guest, Ben McCain. And you might not have heard of him, but after this little interview, you're going to say, why have I not heard of him? And let me tell you how I met him first. We met online because Ben and his son, Zach, started a YouTube channel back in 2020. Was that about when it was?
March 2020 in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. And that's part of the whole story.
We were ordered by the government to stay home.
And in fact, if he had his guitar, you would play the song about that whole thing. And somehow or another, Ben and Zach's called Daddy and the Big Boys. So Daddy is Ben McCain.
600 episodes.
That's right.
600
and
episodes.
That may have been what caught my mind. That was 600 when I first started following you, and I don't know how I found you. You had like 190 episodes. And they were, at the time, doing one every single day.
We were cranking them out.
You were?
Yeah.
And you're still cranking them out because you're up to 600.
600 episodes.
And most people never get that far. And they're fun to watch. It's, Ben here, won't say how old Ben is, but younger than me, but his son's 10 years old.
My son is 10 years old.
10.
Yeah. He's
delightful kid.
Yeah. And Zach Franklin McCain.
Okay. I like that.
And we live in Franklin, Tennessee.
But you didn't know that when you named him.
No.
We're in Franklin, Tennessee right now, just a few miles
just outside of the Cracker Barrel.
That's right.
And we just had a great lunch.
Thanks to Ben, and we're in my mobile video studio.
I am impressed with this, Mark.
There you go.
I'm not kidding you. This is nice. So, this is not a hillbilly van. Well, this is a high-tech van.
It's even got a bathroom inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ben McCain, he and his brother Butch. Okay, they are
my favorite and only brother, Butch.
Okay, favorite and only. First of all, they grew up in Muleshoe,
Texas. We were born in Muleshoe, Texas, raised on a farm near Bovina, Bovina, B-O-V-I-N-A.
And you still have that farm?
Yeah, we still farm and raise cattle out in Bovina, Texas, also in Hockley County and Lamb County. We're in Palmer County. That's where we grew up. At 28 in my graduating class.
28.
But throughout my career, I've bragged about being in the top 30. There are just some things you want to brag about.
Wait a minute. Top 30, but there were 28 in your class.
Yeah, that's right.
I get that. Okay.
Bovina is not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And we've got the fastest dogs in the world because the trees are so far apart. And when we find two trees together, we put a fence around it and call it a park.
And you are in a dry part of the state. All of the Midwest and the West is parched, but you're not where all those wildfires are.
No, and that is just I could get teary-eyed about what's going on there in the Texas Panhandle, especially the northeastern part of the Texas Panhandle. It's just so devastated. People have been devastated. Some people have lost everything, all of their cattle, their homes, all of their belongings. Fortunately, and thank God, in where we are in our part of the state, we're next to the New Mexico line. We have not had any fires. In fact, we've had a little snow when all those fires were going on. So we're thankful that we were not touched by the fires. We've been coming out to Nashville through the years. In fact, in the 80s, we recorded our first album here, and then we also did Hee Haw a couple of times, and we got to salute our hometown of Bovina, Texas on Hee Haw. That was very exciting.
So that's what I want to move into now.
You want to move into Hee Haw, or you want to move into...
I just want people to know that this is no just rancher here.
Yeah.
Ben and his brother Butch have been on TV for decades, and I don't mean just some little local thing. Big shows. They have been in movies. They make movies. They make CDs. They write music. They've got music on a movie that's coming out. He has been here, I guess both brothers, but Ben and the van have interviewed top names in politics and Hollywood. Tell us some of the people you have met and interviewed.
Well, I've been, it sounds corny to people. I've been blessed, but I've I've been blessed. I've had some great opportunities working in broadcasting and acting and in the music business. But with interviews, I've interviewed Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, Billy Graham, Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash together, and they were both in a good mood and sober at the time I interviewed them. And as my friend Roger Murrah says, who's in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, he said, so you caught them during that 2-month period when they were both sober and in good spirits.
I didn't know that. Goodness.
I said, I guess I did, but I interviewed him at the University of Oklahoma, and that's one of my favorite interviews. And Steve Littrell of KCBs-tv, he just retired. He shot that interview, and Butch did not join me on that interview. He didn't want to get it. It was a weeknight, and we had to get up the next morning at 4:00 to do our early morning TV show. And he said that's one of the regrets I have, that I didn't get up. I just didn't feel like getting out that night.
Are any of these interviews available on YouTube?
A lot of them are on YouTube. That's right. Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings together. By the way, Waylon is from Littlefield, and he actually used to deliver my grandparents' cream out on the farm, and he dated Waylon, and he actually dated my cousin Linda Trulock. Yeah.
Was he a singer back then?
No, he was. He's always been singing, and I remember Waylon. When I first met him, and I said, "Hey, man, my cousin Linda." He said, "I remember Linda," and he said, "Be sure and tell her hello. Tell her hello."
This is amazing. So the thing is, they're not done yet. They are still working professionals.
Well, this is our. Hopefully, this is
hold this up. This is a movie, y'all just made.
Well, this is. We did this Killer Tumbleweeds. Middle America is being attacked. Killer Tumbleweeds. It's a family-friendly movie, and
Isn't Zach in that one?
No, Zach's not in this one, but my niece and nephew are both in it. We also, Mom and Dad are in it.
Oh my!
And as well as a lot of our friends from around Bovina, Texas, and then our broadcasting friends. We promoted this. We shot it around the world.
Oh my goodness!
Because we have shots from Italy, also in Japan. This young guy who was in the Air Force, he shot some scenes for us there in Japan, where he's interviewing the Japanese students about the Killer Tumbleweeds in Middle America. It's very, very low budget, very silly, and in fact, we were watching a few nights ago. We were watching a movie that Butch had just completed called The Glowsies. And we have 3 songs in that movie.
Is that what
and
this
Butch,
is
yeah,
from?
that's from
Hold
the.
that up.
This is from the soundtrack. We've got 3 songs in The Glowsies, and Butch has a small role, and it's featuring music from the motion picture Glowsies, and the album's called The Biggest Waves and Prettiest Babes, and we did this with John James produced it, and we all 3 wrote the songs together. And it's interesting because we were watching it on a secret link that they shared with the cast, and Noel and Zach and I were watching it, and the first few minutes of the movie came on, and Zach said, "This is a much higher budget than Killer Tumbleweeds." I said, "Yes, Zach. Killer Tumbleweeds had no budget."
You wouldn't think your kid would know anything about budget.
Well, we've watched a lot of movies together,
and you see, I have a DVD player right here.
There that's what I'm watching. Well, I asked you. I said, now, and it is very silly. But we don't have any nudity in it, and we don't have any profanity. We really wanted to do that just to see if we could. And then what's interesting is when it's on Amazon Prime, they actually say something about strong language or something like that. We don't have any, but I didn't want to argue with them. But we said "good gravy" a few times or something like that. Yeah, good gravy, people.
How old is that movie now?
That was that's almost 15 years old now. I think. Yeah, not that old. No. In fact, we're working on Killer Tumbleweeds 2. We're actually working on Killer Tumbleweeds 2. But it is on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime,
I do have Amazon.
You can see it. You can see it.
I've got a copy right here.
And if you really want to get into some more stuff that we've done, I've also did a show called Black Scorpion that Roger Corman produced. He's known as King of the B Movies. I did like 16 episodes of Black Scorpion, playing their news anchor for that particular show, and a lot of older Hollywood stars are in that. In Soupy Sales, Adam West, Martin Cove, who's in the new Cobra Kai series. He has a role in there too, I believe.
Oh my goodness! So you're multi-talented. You said you do voiceovers.
We do voiceovers, yes, and my brother is
does.
really big into the voiceover world, yes.
And you were saying, I mean, for video games and TV shows.
Yeah, we do voiceovers for movies, TV shows, and you know, and when we were in LA, we did commercials. Butch had a big Super Bowl commercial with Jeff Gordon for Pepsi, and I had the funny haircut commercial with Chris Rock. That's on YouTube. We all had to get these strange haircuts.
Real haircut?
And then oh, absolutely. And they paid us handsomely for that. And at the end of the shoot, it was like a 3-day shoot. We shot in downtown LA. We shot out in Chatsworth, and then they flew us to Indiana, of all places, and we shot in Indiana in the small town where they shot Hoosiers. And but at the end of all of that, they had to shave our heads, and then fortunately the hair grew back. So
well, you can see how well dressed he is. That's why I'm not on camera. I look like a slob every day.
That's not true.
That's
not
he
true.
does have his jeans on, but he's not wearing cowboy boots. But he's got a nice blazer here and a nice seersucker looking shirt, whatever, but no tie. But so you have no plans to stop, I can tell.
Well, we want to keep on keeping on, and I've met up with this songwriter who's in the Hall of Fame, Roger Murrah, and there's another young guy, Connor Myers, and we're working on some material together. And I'm learning from these guys. I'm learning, and Roger Murrah will tell you that when you're writing songs, every word counts.
So are you working and writing songs as we speak?
As we speak,
not this minute, but at home.
Every word counts, and I'm also the MC for this event that they do at the Harpeth Hotel. They're going to do 6 of these songwriter events, and I'm the MC. And Roger's asked me to come out and just to introduce the folks and kind of welcome the crowd. And they've got some incredible songwriters that have had last time Keith Stegall, who produced the Zach Brown Band, and also Alan Jackson. I mean, he's also been an artist himself, and he should be. I think he will be in the Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame soon. He's had such success, and they wrote "We're in This Love Together" for Al Jarreau back in the '80s. It was a worldwide hit, and then they've continued with all this great success. And Roger, of course, has just been just very encouraging. And when Butch came out, we met with Roger, and he's just it's like just visiting with him. You just get such a taste of this history of the music business here in Tennessee. So I'm just glad to be associated with him.
So the songs you write, are they mostly like the kind you would hear at the Grand Ole Opry? I mean, country type songs?
Well, what's interesting about the Biggest Waves and the Prettiest Babes, that's a zombie movie, and the director, Butch had worked with the director, and he's got a pretty good role in this movie playing Old Mose. And you'll be looking for Butch is, yeah, he's got it. But Hank Braxton, the director, asked Butch, he said, "You guys think you could do some surf music?" And my reaction when Butch talked to me about it, I said, "Well, I went to church with Brian Wilson at Bel Air Presbyterian Church in when we were in Los Angeles. So, I went to church with him, so maybe it rubbed off on me." But the truth is,
Brian Wilson, Beach Boys?
Brian Wilson's the Beach Boys, yeah, Brian Wilson, yeah, who Paul McCartney and John Lennon and the Beatles thought he was like one of the musical geniuses of our time.
Yeah.
So, but back to this particular, about our music, the director asked if we could do some surf music. And I said, yeah, let's just do it.
Had you ever done any?
Not particular. Not. We really haven't. Like that wasn't something that we had focused on, because most of our stuff was kind of like just country rock. So, but we just said we'll accept this challenge, and then we hooked up with our buddy John James, who's a producer there in Grand Junction, and once we started it, we recorded 13 songs for the CD, and you saw the CD, the Biggest Waves and the Prettiest Babes.
I can't wait.
Rise and Shine Records.
I can watch that movie tonight and listen to the CD.
Well, no, you don't get the movie yet, but Killer Tumbleweeds. Yeah, don't listen to them at the same time.
No, I won't. Let me go one drop. So we'll wrap this up in a minute. Well, number one, you can tell Ben is professional. He never says or has to think for a minute.
No, you'll catch me.
Words just come out.
We try to keep the feather in the air. We try to keep the ball bouncing, and we want that smile in your voice. Keep the smile in your voice.
I mean, you could where you working now? I mean, you could. Have you been offered any jobs, like permanent jobs, lately, like to be on TV or
No,
radio?
that just isn't.
Not.
That once when I left Los Angeles, for 21 years, I anchored a news show in Torrance for the city of Torrance for 21 years. I knew where I was going to be every Thursday, and that was great for me because I was also auditioning during that time and doing movies and TV shows and voiceovers. And then also during that time, I spent 10 years at Time Warner Cable, and we did stories all over Southern California. I got to work with some incredibly talented people. We were nominated for 2 LA area Emmys. We didn't win, but we were nominated. And I tell people who do win them, it's much better to say Emmy winner than Emmy nominated. But
it's still better to say Emmy nominated than never heard of at all. So if there were someone came to you here in Franklin or Bovina or in your 16, 17 years old, said, how could I prepare myself for a world in either broadcasting or movies? What kind of advice could you give?
Well, that's interesting because John Mann works at a high school in Los Angeles, and these high schoolers do a podcast, and they just interviewed me asking about that, and I just told them my story, and that is when I was a senior in high school, I was given the opportunity to work at a small radio station in Farwell, Texas. Gil Patchke was the owner. KZOL, Fun Country Radio with a touch of gospel.
Listen to him.
You with me? Fun Country Radio with a touch of gospel. Started playing the Merle Haggards and Waylon Jennings and Johnny Rodriguez, Tom T. Hall, all these great artists, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, the Gatlin Brothers. And I just fell in love with it in the spring of my senior year. So I got in the building. I was given an opportunity, and I met the owner, and he offered me a job. So by the time I graduated from high school, I was working full time, and then started South Plains College in Levelland, started working at KLVT Radio with Gene Stanley, and after a year and a half, moved to Amarillo and wanted to get into television. And I had met this guy, Bill Tell Zortman. He was the news director at Channel 7, KVII, one of the top-rated, I think maybe the top-rated news operations in the country. And I wanted to work at Pro News. So he told me when I met him, he said, well, you come see me in a few years. I actually went to see him and said, hey, I want to work in the news department. I don't think he remembered me, but I just said, hey, Mr. Zortman, we met, and you said, come see you. Here I am. So we don't have any openings.
Did he remember you?
I don't think so. Maybe he did. He said, because he wrote an article later that I think he mentioned that maybe he remembered me or the situation. But I didn't. I saw him, and I took advantage of getting acquainted with him, as I've met a lot of people through the years, not only just interviewing them, but just encounters. And I'm not afraid to speak to people. Hello, how you doing? Or I like this work that you do, or I like this record, something. And then that opens up the door. Sometimes people are, can be jerks, but most of the time, I think if you're sincere, and you want to meet somebody, they're kind. And plus, if they're jerks, you may not want to have anything to do with them anyway, later on. So
you had said, like, when you were in high school, you really wanted to get into
sports. I wanted to get into, I wanted to be on, work in television, and we also had the music background too. So Paul Matney was the professor at West Texas State University, and I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm moving to Amarillo. Could we have lunch? He's still a friend of mine after more than, I guess, 50 years. And he said, sure, let's have lunch. So we had lunch. And I said, I want to go to work. And I said, but Zortman said they don't have any openings there. And he said, let me talk to the head of production. So John Martin was the guy's name. The reason I'm familiar with all these names is I'm working on a book to kind of describe how this all happened, because you asked me a question, and Butch and I've since spoken at Belmont University, where our agent is a professor, is teaching, and he asked us to come into the class. So I'm kind of fresh on a lot of this stuff, because you want to tell kids how you got in. You asked the question. So Mr. Matney, Dr. Matney now, he reached out to John Martin, who was the head of production. They said, we have an opening for you to run studio camera and sweep and mop the floors. I thought, I can do that. Coming from a farm, you worked with a lot of cattle manure, I can sweep and mop the floor. I can do that. That's not a problem. So I got in, and once you get into the building, I thought to myself, something good could happen here. Once I get into the building. So I would bring a jacket and a tie.
Okay.
After I showed them that I was willing to sweep and mop the floor and do all the stuff necessary, run camera. And I asked some of the camera guys, one of the directors, would you record me reading the news on the set? Had the tie, so I back and forth reading the news, communicating.
Cold reading of it?
Cold reading. I had the news right, the script right in front of me, reading. This was even before teleprompters. So I said, Mr. Zortman, would you take a look at these recordings? So he liked what he saw, and before you know it, within 6 weeks, I was doing the early morning show. News, broadcasting, anchoring. And people have asked me, were you nervous? I said, I had rehearsed it so much with that red light on the camera, and I see the red light, and I'm looking at the camera. I said I had rehearsed it so much, it was like breathing. I wasn't nervous because I'd visualized it, rehearsed it so much that I just felt at home in front of the camera.
When's the first time you and your brother worked together?
Okay, so my brother, Butch, is 3 years younger, and a lot of people think we're twins, and his response to that, Mark, is he just had a couple of bad years. That's his response. He had a couple of
two brothers there on this CD. McCain brothers, best so far.
Yeah, that's our third or fourth. I think it's our fourth CD.
And he's giving this stuff to me for free, I hope.
Well, I asked you a question though before I said, do you have a VHS player? Because a lot of people don't anymore.
And I do.
And I said, do you have a CD player? Because a lot of people don't anymore. And I was with the former Attorney General from the great state of Oklahoma last night. We were in Nashville having steaks at Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Hotel, and I drive a Lincoln that's like 20 years old, and it's still got a CD player and a cassette player in it. So see,
really? Now,
that is something. Yeah, I've got both. And it only had a few miles on it when we bought it, and we bought that from Uncle Eldon and Aunt Claudia's estate, and it still runs good. And Butch and I bought that together, the company did, and then we drove it out to California, and I just said, I just enjoy this so much, Butch. Can I buy you out of this? He goes, well, yeah, if you really want it. I said, I want it. So we brag about driving the oldest cars in Franklin, because a lot of the people here in Franklin, they're pretty well heeled, and they're all driving new cars.
I bet so. I've not been able to tour Franklin. I'm just here to meet Ben and have lunch and all this good stuff. But we're going to wrap this up, Ben. So I think.
But you asked me that. So my advice to those kids, my advice to the kids is, or anybody, if you want to get in this, you need to get inside the building if you can. And just watch what people are doing and just absorb it like a sponge.
So they don't have to go to college necessarily.
Well, I was going to college as I was working, because at that time it was very important to have a college degree at that time. But I think anymore, people are just you just need to find out what you're doing, find out what you want to do. That's tough. And that's tough for some people to do. I know some older people that said, I've really never found my passion. But we did early on, and we enjoy the broadcasting, we enjoy the music, enjoy entertaining, enjoy making movies, but you gotta. I think you gotta talk to people. You ask me a question, I think you gotta really talk to people and be a sponge, and figure out, and then start doing it. Bruce Campbell, the actor, Bruce Campbell says, you want to make movies. Start making movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what he said with YouTube. Just push record. Don't sit there and think about it and wait to get the right equipment. Just go use your phone.
We started Daddy and the Big Boy the day that we were ordered to stay home in Los Angeles. I was in my pajamas, and I said, we need to document this. That's how it started. Let's document what's going on in our lives.
And this is a YouTube channel.
March 2022. March 2020.
I will link to your channel.
March 2020.
In the notes with this video, so people can find it. Hopefully subscribe to you and follow Daddy and the Big Boy.
Well, growing up out in the middle of nowhere in the Texas Panhandle, when people would drive by on a dirt road, or the crop duster was flying over our field, I wanted to know that guy. Butch and I wanted to know that guy. We wanted to know those people driving by. Because it was just we were the only two human beings out there. But Mom and Dad, but Dad was working and Mom might be at the house,
Well, just want to thank Ben McCain for taking it this time to be here. I'm with a celebrity. I am. I feel the fact that he even found me, we both reached out to each other. I started following Daddy and the Big Boy. I don't even know how I discovered it. He started following me, and I don't even know how he discovered me, especially me, but I'm glad our paths crossed.
Mark, I love people, and
I can tell.
And I do. I enjoy getting to know other human beings, and Jesus commands us to love one another, and some people are harder to love than others. You know that, right?
Amen. Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you, and this was a joy. Thank you, Mark. Wish you the very best. Wish you a long, good life.
Thank you.
We got to stay healthy.
We do.
That's what's important. Stay healthy.
And same to you and your family as well.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, folks.
Thank you.
Signing off.